The Red Book, last volume, Scrutinies, um, section Third Sermon to the Dead, starting bottom page 349 in the 2009 volume, and it's still the 2nd of August. Now, the following night, February 1, 1916, the dead approached like fog from a swamp and exclaimed, "Tell us more about the highest God." And Philemon stepped forward and began to speak, and this is the third sermon to the dead. Quote, Abraxas is a god who is difficult to grasp. His power is greatest because man does not see it. From the sun he draws the sunum bonum. From the devil the infimum malum. But from Abraxas, life, capitalized, life, although indefinite, the mother of good and evil. Couple of footnotes. Aristotle defined happiness as the supreme good, sunum bonum. In Summa Theologica, Thomas Aquinas identified this with God. Jung saw the doctrine of the sunum bonum as being the source of the concept of the privatio boni, which in his view had led to the denial of the reality of evil. Yeah, thanks to Aristotle and Aquinas trying to reintegrate Aristotle after he was. So Aristotle, the connection there is that Aristotle's definition of, let's say, eudaimonia is misunderstood and taken as the supreme good. That means that we get a very reduced notion of what the good is. Aristotle is forgotten during the Dark Ages because of the Black Death. He is preserved by the Iranians, somewhere in the Middle East. I'm not up to speed exactly where. And then Thomas Aquinas has to spend a whole lot of effort trying to rebraid Aristotle with Christianity, essentially failing because leading to the privatio boni or other reasons, which ended up preserving the split, which ultimately led to Luther and the disintegration of the church and the split as we see it today. This is, yes, chasing back to Aristotle, and Aristotle's being forgotten, and the straw manning of Aristotle, and yeah, I mean, this is Jamie Will's thing, but we sort of like from the four, you know, of the four of the who are they? The apostles. We got mostly Paul, who's a kind of bit of a bureaucrat wanker compared to the others, and um, Aristotle, who basically went to the Delphic Oracle and couldn't hold it, essentially like, mystical experience. Then he was like, "No, dude, it's all in the particular things," and sort of yeah, in this way, it would be, "Hey, Aristotle, isn't there more to life than happiness?" kind of thing, or like, can we conceive of the supreme good as a bit more than just happiness? Just drawing on Peterson, for example. I don't know. I can't argue against Aristotle right here, but the point is there were real consequences to taking Aristotle and Paul as the basis of Western culture, and that we need to like essentially chase back before those guys to Plato and Pythagoras and, the other um, Christian apostles, to name it, even like the Gnostic Gospels, for example, to really find the source of life, the well. Of our culture, which is kind of, this is what Jung is essentially chasing in different terms. Now, that was about the sunum bonum. Yeah, here it's counterbalanced with the infimum malum, which is kind of the supreme evil, I guess. Not a pleasant notion. And then there was a different footnote which says, in Black Book 6, Appendix C, Jung notes that Abraxas is the god of the frogs, and that, quote, the god of the frogs or toads, the brainless one, is the union of the Christian god with Satan. In his later writings, Jung argued that the Christian god image was one-sided and that it left out the factor of evil. Through studying the historical transformations of god images, he attempted to correct this, especially in Ion and Answer to Job. In his note on how Answer to Job came to be written, Answer to Job is the only work he decided that he would not want to rewrite. It came to him in sort of one burst, compared to his other writings. He wrote that in Ion he had criticized the idea of the privatio boni as not agreeing with the psychological findings. Psychological experience shows us that what we call good is balanced by an equally substantial evil or bad. If evil is non-existent, then whatever there must needs be, then whatever there is must needs be good. Dogmatically, neither good nor evil can be derived from man, since the, quote, evil one existed before man as one of the sons of gods. The idea of the privatio boni began to play a role in the church only after Mani. Before this heresy, Clement of Rome taught that God rules the world with a left and a right and left hand, the right being Christ, left being Satan. Clement's view is clearly monotheistic, and as it unites the opposites into one God. Later Christianity, however, is dualistic inasmuch as it splits off one half of the opposites, personified in Satan. If Christianity claims to be a monotheism, it becomes unavoidable to assume the opposites as being contained in God. That seems quite clear. So the paragraph went, Abraxas is the god who is difficult to grasp. His power is greatest because man does not see it. From the sun he draws the sunum bonum, from the devil the infernum malum, but from Abraxas, life, although indefinite, the mother of good and evil. Life seems to be smaller and weaker than the sunum bonum. Therefore, it is also hard to conceive that Abraxas' power transcends even the sun's, SUN's, which is the radiant source of all vital force. Abraxas is the sun, and at the same time the eternally sucking gorge of emptiness, of the diminisher and dismemberer of the devil. The power of Abraxas is twofold, but you do not see it, because in your eyes the warring powers, the warring opposites of this power are cancelled out. Because in your eyes, the warring opposites of this power are cancelled out. What the sun god speaks is life, what the devil speaks is death. But Abraxas speaks that hallowed and accursed word that is at once life and death. Abraxas produces truth and lying, good and evil, light and darkness in the same word and in the same act. Therefore, Abraxas is terrible. He is as splendid as the lion in the instant he strikes down his victim. He is as beautiful as a spring day. He is the great and the small Pan alike. He is Priapos. He is the monster of the underworld, a thousand-armed polyp, a coiled knot of winged serpents, frenzy. He is the hermaphrodite of the earliest beginning. He is the lord of toads and frogs, which live in the water and go up on the land, whose chorus ascends at noon and at midnight. He is the fullness that seeks union with emptiness. He is the holy begetting. He is love and its murder. He is the saint and its betrayer. He is the brightest light of day and the darkest night of madness. To look upon him is blindness. To recognize him is sickness. To worship him is death. To fear him is wisdom. Not to resist him is redemption. God dwells behind the sun, the devil behind the night. What God brings forth out of the light, the devil sucks into the night. But Abraxas is the world, its becoming and its passing. Upon every gift that comes from the sun god, the devil lays his curse. Everything that you request from the sun god produces a deed from the devil. Everything that you create with the sun god gives effective power to the devil. That is terrible Abraxas. He is the mightiest created being, and in him creation is afraid of itself. He is the manifest opposition of creation to the pleroma and its nothingness. He is the sun's horror of the mother, S-O-N. He is the sun's horror of the mother. He is the mother's love for the sun. He is the delight of the earth and the cruelty of the heavens. At his sight, man's face congeals. Before him there is no question and no reply. He is the life of creation. He is the effect of differentiation. He is the love of man. He is the speech of man. He is the appearance and the shadow of man. He is deceptive reality. Jung noted, 1942, the concept of an all-encompassing God must necessarily include his opposite. The coincidence, of course, must not be too radical, otherwise God would cancel himself out. The principle of the coincidence of opposites must therefore be completed by its opposite, in order to attain full paradoxicality, and hence psychological validity. The principle of the coincidence of opposites must therefore be completed by its opposite, in order to attain full paradoxicality, and hence psychological validity. That's in the Spirit Mercurius, Collected Works 13. Anyway, now the dead howled and raged, for they were incomplete. But when their noisy cries had faded away, I said to Philemon, How, O my father, should I understand this God? Philemon answered and said, My son, why do you want to understand him? This God is to be known but not understood. If you understand him, then you can say that he is this or that and this and not that. Thus you hold him in the hollow of your hand, and therefore your hand must throw him away. The God whom I know is this and that, and just as much this other and that other. Therefore no one can understand this God, but it is possible to know him, and therefore I speak and teach him. But, I retorted, does this God not bring despairing confusion into the minds of men? To this Philemon said, These dead rejected the order of unity and community. Since they rejected the belief in the Father in heaven who ruled with just measure, they had to reject him. Therefore, I teach them the chaos that is without measure and utterly boundless, to which justice and injustice, leniency and severity, patience and anger, love and hate are nothing. For how can I teach anything other than the God whom I know and whom they know, without being conscious of him? I replied, why, O solemn one, do you call the eternally incomprehensible the cool contradictoriness? I replied, why, O solemn one, do you call the eternally incomprehensible the cruel contradictoriness of nature, God? Philemon said, How should I name it otherwise? If the overpowering essence of events in the universe and in the hearts of men were law, I would call it law. Yet it is also no law, but chance, irregularity, sin, error, stupidity, carelessness, folly, illegality. Therefore, I cannot call it law. You know that this must be so. And at the same time, you know that it did not have to be so, and that at some other time it will not be so. It is overpowering and occurs as if from eternal law, and at another time a slanting wind blows a speck of dust into the works, and this void is a superior strength, harder than a mountain of iron. Therefore, you know that the eternal law is also no law. So I cannot name it law. But how else should it be named? I know that human language has forever named the maternal womb of the incomprehensible God. Truly, this God is and is not, since from being and non-being everything emerged that was, is, and will be. But when Philemon had spoken the last word, he touched the earth with his hand and dissolved. Okay, that being the Red Book, third section, Scrutinies, and indeed the third sermon to the dead.